So today our focus is going to be on the Mayan mathematical system. And the Mayan mathematical system is the most complex mathematical system of the Native American mathematical systems. So our focus of today is to understand the Mayan mathematical system. And we're going to start this by going over and having this little discussion about this chart. And of course in the classroom this is going to be displayed and it's going to be able to be referenced to throughout the lesson. And so on this chart we can see that there's different symbols, and we can see that there's numbers that we recognize as well. And so the reason that the Mayan mathematical system was made is so that way they have a way of representing different numbers. And so example of this is there's going to be 3 symbols that represent different numbers. And these symbols, when they are placed together, add up to be different numbers. So first I wanted to go over this shell. This shell represents 0. So whenever we see this, we're going to know that it is 0. Next is this dot. Now this dot is representing number 1. So whenever we see this, we have to remember number 1. And lastly, this looks a little different, but this bar is going to represent the number 5. So when we see this, we have to remember that this represents the number 5. Good job. So now that we know the symbols, I'm going to show you an example in what we're going to be using today to try and understand the concept of the Mayan mathematical systems. So I'm going to be passing out in a little bit once I show my example first. Everyone's going to get some popsicle sticks. Everyone's going to get a handful of beans. And everyone's going to get a macaroni shell. Now, this popsicle stick is going to represent 5. So it's going to represent the number 5. And this bean is going to represent the number 1. And lastly, do I have any guesses on what the macaroni noodle will represent? Yeah, the macaroni shell is going to represent the 0. So now that we have all of these, I'm going to give an example. So when looking back at this picture, we can see that at the bottom is going to be the bar or the popsicle stick. Then on top is going to be the bean or the dot that represents 1. But then for 0, it's going to be the macaroni shell. So if we're trying to represent 0, we're going to use the macaroni shell. So I'm going to show what this is going to look like. So if we want to represent the number 10, I'll need 1 popsicle stick here. And what else do we need? We will need another popsicle stick, because then 5 plus 5 equals 10. So then we'll represent 10. Now, if we wanted to represent this using the Mayan mathematical systems, we would write the 2 bars like we've seen earlier. So instead, there would be 2 bars. So next, if we want to represent the number 8, we'll take our popsicle stick, we'll put it at the bottom, we'll add 1, 2, and 3 beans, because each of our beans represents 1. And 5 plus 3 equals, it equals 8. So then it will represent the number 8. And if we want to just represent 0, then we'll grab our macaroni shell and we will place it down, because that'll represent 0. So now I am going to pass out the materials and we are going to attempt this on our own. I want you to give it a few tries, and once we figure that out and you're able to explore the concept, then we will be working on our next step. So at this point, I would be giving students time to work on their own popsicle stick, bean, and macaroni shell. So once we come back together as a whole group, then I will be giving students 3x5 note cards So now that we're back as a whole class, we are going to take what we just learned from the Mayan mathematical system in our popsicle sticks, in our beans, in our macaroni shells, and we are going to draw them onto our note cards. So an example of this would be, and I'd be drawing this myself for the class, I would be representing the number 2 if I draw 2 circles. So this would represent the number 2. But if I wanted to represent something a little more complex and a higher number, like 18, I would do 3 bars and 3 dots, because 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 15. And 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3, so 5 plus 15 equals 18. But if I wanted to represent the number 10, I would draw 2 bars. Or the number 5, I would draw 1 bar. Or the number 4, I would draw 4 dots, or circles. So now I want you guys to all take a few minutes and write down some on your note cards. So now I would give students some time to work on their note cards. Now we're going to come back as a whole group, and I'm going to do this as an example first, and then you guys will work in either small groups or in pairs. And what I want you to do, I want you to look at the 5 cards that you made. I want you to try and put these in order from least to greatest. So for mine, if I were to show from least to greatest, I would start with the number 2. So the 2 dots, because 1 equals 2. Then I would go with 4 dots, because 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 4. Would it work if I use the bars next? So 5 plus 5 equals 10. So this would not work because we have a number 5 right here. So then it would be 5, then it would be 10, and then it would be 18. Then when students practice this on their own, I would then want them to represent it by, or then I would want them to try and use the 4 different ways of computing. So I would want them to use multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. And they would be able to explore this by, for example, they can do 10 minus 5 equals, and then they would have to draw another 5 bar, because 10 minus 5 equals 5. So as the students are able to complete 4 each operation, order of operations, they will be able to then come up with more using whether they want to use their bean, their macaroni shell, or their popsicle sticks, or they want to write out more note cards while we wait for other students to finish. And then lastly, as a whole group, to see what we have learned so far and kind of apply our knowledge, I would want students, we would collect all the cards that we have made, and I would randomly select a group of cards. So I'm going to use the cards that I've been using, and here we have our number line, and this would be displayed on the whiteboard. So using our number line, if we had 4 dots, I would have students then mark it under the correct section. So if they see the 4 dots, they would be able to put that it's underneath the 4. So then I want them to represent it with 4. Or for example, for 2, then they would represent it for 2 on the number line. And this would be showing them where each of these numbers would go in their value on the number chart, or the number line. And that is all for this lesson. So we have learned about the math of Maya and the Mayan number system, and how it is one of the most complex mathematical systems in all of Native American mathematical systems.